Okay, so this is a lesson for U.S. history during week 10. So I'm recording during week 11, so that was actually last week. But let's talk about week 10 stuff. During this week, I wanted to cover some background information on the Texas War for Independence. So here is the background information for that. Here's what it was, who was there, why, some of the causes, that sort of thing. So, what caused Texas to become independent? They're becoming independent from Mexico. There are American settlers living in the Texas territory, and they are mostly living peaceful until they don't live peaceful anymore with Mexico. And the big issue was slavery. So let me move this up. Um, the Texan people, the Americans, wanted independence from Mexico because American settlers in Texas and the Mexican government disagreed over laws over slavery. Texas wanted slavery, Mexico did not, and over how autonomous Texas can be. Um, this guy named Santa Anna centralized Mexican power. He ended local self-government, which made Mexico more powerful and led to increased oversight on the Texans, which led to an all-out war. Okay. The reason we're talking about this is because we're talking about annexation and westward expansion, and this is how we got Texas as a state. So some key events. The first battle was the Battle of Gonzales. So this battle started in 1835 in October. It was the first armed conflict. The most famous one, the most famous event was the Alamo. If you notice, it's from February to March in 1838. This was famous because there's about 150 Texans in this area. They're resisting the Mexican government, and all of them are killed. And it is literally a symbol today of let me see if I can pull up a picture. Is literally a symbol today of the resistance and Texan pride. Um, but during this time, this symbol, let me pull up this guy. Come on. This building in the Alamo where they were holed up, this kind of like outline, you might see it in a lot of Texas things. Let's see if I can find a picture. You might find it on a lot of Texas things like this. Um, because we're remembering these people who died and it unites us, United Texans against Mexico, all that good stuff. So it's the most famous event. Leading up to the Goliad Massacre, where in addition to killing all the people in the Alamo, um, March 1836, Mexico executed a bunch of Texan prisoners as well. Finally, the last and most famous battle, well, maybe not, if the Alamo is most famous, the last battle that was really important was the Battle of San Jacinto, where the Texans, led by Sam Houston, defeat Santa Anna and his army. So 1836 in April is when it ends. And actually, Texas, right after the Alamo, right after the Goliad Massacre, Texas did declare independence from Mexico. They were done. Uh, and Santa Anna is captured during the final battle, and Texas becomes the Republic of Texas. Texas is the Republic of Texas for 10 years when another event happens called, oh, awesome. Here's Santa Anna in all of his glory, leading the Mexicans against the Texans. Um, the next event, to give you background information on, um, is when the U.S. brought Texas in as a state. So instead of Texas being its own country, it is now a U.S. state in 1845, and that angered Mexico, which still claimed Texas. Um, we are going to be in a full-out war with Mexico over this issue. There are two more issues that really bring us to war with Mexicans. There is a dispute over the Texas border at the time. The U.S. claimed the Rio Grande. Obviously, the Rio Grande is the border today, and we won, so that reflects our victory. Well, Mexico claimed a different river to be the border between Mexico, Texas. And then finally, a lot of American settlers are moving westward, west from Texas into Mexican land, because they have the belief that it is theirs. It's their God-given right. It's manifest destiny to expand westward, and that means west of Texas into places like New Mexico and Nevada and even California today, right? The California Gold Rush is about to happen. So we get into all-out war. It starts in 1846 with a skirmish at the Rio Grande. President James K. Polk is president at the time, and he prompts Congress to declare war, and they do. Here's some major battles during the war. You don't have to know a bunch about them, but if you're curious, here are some names for you to look up. 1847 is when General Winfield Scott is leading the U.S. troops to capture Mexico City. And then Mexico's like, I'm sorry, hang on, hang on. We are gonna talk about peace now. Um, and the peace treaty that they come up with and sign is called the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The main idea for this treaty is everything that Mexico lost. So Mexico lost a lot of territory, and eventually we gained all these guys as states, but we gained all this territory during this time, just like we did with Louisiana Purchase. Except we won in a battle, in a war, all of this stuff. So we won California, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. The U.S. in turn also paid $15 million to Mexico as part of this treaty, not really buying the land, more like in war reparations. But that's how we came to have this land area. So, I gave you all this background information in order for you to practice a really essential skill this week, which is creating. Oh, also Rio Grande recognizes official border. We talked about that. Okay. Um, really important creating research questions. That really important skill, I wanted to define how to do that. So, there are 4 things that make a really good research question. Move myself down. A focused and specific question. What I mean by that is it's narrow in scope, it's not too broad, it's not too general, and you know specific details already. So you clearly identify in the question the who, the what, the when, and the where. That means pre-research is very important. Knowing the background information is super important. And any question that begins with who, what, when, or where is something you need to rewrite. Um, you need to make sure because you need to make sure your question is analytical and not descriptive. Who, what, when, where questions are descriptive. And I want you to move past that into more analytical thinking. It starts with your questions. So an analytical question encourages you to argue for something, to take a stance, to evaluate. Something is good, something is bad, something is the most important event. It's a turning point in history. We're to move past storytelling and moving past just describing what happened. And this skill will really help you as you prepare to write for the DP exams. Um, the best part about this is it allows for different historical perspectives. When you type in a really good analytical question, you will get 2 sides to any argument, and those sides usually have experts. So if you're struggling to find expert opinions, sources with historical perspective, sources written by really good historians, you might need to rewrite your research question. Here's how you can improve it. You can use prompt words like to what extent, how significant, in what ways, why. Those types of questions indicate deeper analysis. The third thing you need to make sure about research questions is that it's researchable. Don't waste your time on a question that is too specific that you can't find the answer to or you can't find good sources for. So you need to do a lot of pre-research to make sure you have found a good avenue. Otherwise, you need to rewrite your research question and make sure there's enough primary and secondary resources out there for you. We're walking the line between, yes, it needs to be focused and specific, but your question also needs to be a little bit broad. Finally, your research question should allow for evaluation and conclusion from yourself. You should be able to bring stuff together and comment on it, 3 to 4 solid pieces of evidence that might answer your research question. So it allows you to form a reasoned evidence-based judgment and the answer is not obvious from the question. You have to do some research. It's a research question, right? So if the answer is too simple or too obvious, you also need to rewrite your question. Here's an example I came up with. Oh, I wish I. Anyway, just look at the first question. The first question is a very simple question. What happened during the Civil War? It's a what question. It may be a storytelling question, a what happened question. Um, and there's probably a lot of sources out there, probably too many sources, too many overview sources, and it doesn't really allow you to argue anything or evaluate anything or come to a reasoned evidence-based judgment at all. Instead, I'm going to rewrite the same thing, what happened during the Civil War, the same type of idea. I just want to rewrite the question. So I'm going to identify the who, the what, the when, the where. So to what extent, I use that to what extent, did Abraham Lincoln's leadership influence the outcome of the Civil War? A to what extent question allows for multiple answers. Abraham Lincoln's leadership did not influence the outcome of the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln's leadership influenced it a little bit. Abraham Lincoln's leadership influenced it a lot. There are things you can argue about that. I know the who, I know Abraham Lincoln's involved. I know his leadership at least is a little bit influential. This one might be a little bit of an obvious question. Um, so I could deepen it a little bit, but knowing the outcome of the Civil War, knowing that the North did win, the South did lose. You need to know all those things before that to get a really deep, good analytical question. Okay, watch out for the next video where I'm going to show week 11.